but at the other channels as well too. Looks like we are good. Looks like we as well too in here. So if you guys have a question, if you're here live, by the way, feel free to drop it in the chat wherever you guys are joining us from. But if you guys are here from the past, your question might have been here from this link here as well too. So here's one of the questions that came in, Coach Jasmine. If you can share your thoughts on this one. The first question is basically saying the student would like to start looking at internships and volunteering opportunities locally and also getting help with SAT prep. So I think that's two questions here. Let's start with the first one first. So in terms of internship and volunteering, any advice you have over here?
Yes, you can talk to your teachers. You can talk to your high school counselors. Oftentimes, they have connections that you may be unaware of, either from previous students or with any local community connections that they have. You can also look online for any nonprofits, any organizations that you could potentially volunteer or intern with. And if you can't find any, as sometimes this does happen, you can actually create your own. So one of our coaches, Coach Victor, had a great training on it. He actually reached out and had his own internship created. If that's something that you're interested in, just text us. You can text in Jasmine to our number, and our team will be sure to send that over. Now, in terms of the SAT prep resources, first thing to look at is, do you even need to take the test? So if you're aiming for the UCs, they are test blind, which means you do not have to take them whatsoever. Now, the majority of the other colleges in the States are test optional, meaning if you have a great score, you can go ahead and submit it and it can only help you. In terms of the top 25 colleges, including the Ivy League schools, they will be required. So in terms of that, taking a look at your college list, if it's UC only, you can actually go ahead and not take the exam. But if you want to keep your options open to colleges beyond the UCs, then it may be advisable to take. Coach Tony, do you have anything that you'd like to add here?
No, I think that's definitely a super solid thing as well. To kind of go back to trying to type as fast as you're talking as well too. So again, really we could recap as well too with the internship stuff. Everything I think is spot on there. I think I completely agree. Coach Victor has a really good training. Go ahead and text again. Jasmine's a keyword. She'll grab you the training after. Is number one. SAT again. The big thing is again for the big thing from today's world. If you asked me, I think us this 10 years ago, we'd be all right. Here's how you prep. Here's that. But even for this question right away, is like first off, should you even take the test? One of the things we noticed with a lot of our seniors this past year, graduating seniors, a lot of them even have top scores. A lot of them even submit their scores as well too. So the big question is, should you not? It's kind of our big kind of filter. And a lot of it, Coach Jasmine kind of said it perfectly, right? What schools are you aiming for? Are you applying for? Because that will give us the indicator of should you not, right? So if you're applying to test blind schools, so a lot of our families are in California, so UCs and Cal States, all those schools are test blind. You don't even care about them. You don't need that. But you'll see like majority of schools though in today's world is optional, right? And people think, oh, optional, it can hurt me. No, it's going to help you if you have a good score. If you don't have a good score, it's not going to hurt you either, right? So wanted to kind of double down a little bit. How do you know like you have a decent score here? So for optional schools, right, or for optional or required, what we want to say is you aim for a competitive score, meaning can you get to within the 50th percentile, right, of the school's average, right? And if you can, right, that's kind of what you want to get. So just Google schools average score, and then it'll give you a range of scores to kind of look into. Your goal is to get within that range is going to be the key. And if you're within that range, you are pretty much solid to go, right? However, if you're not going to be within that range, so for example, let's say here's an example case, right? Example is, let's say you took the practice exam and you got a 1110, right? Not a bad score, not the most competitive score, but let's say 1110, right? And then you're aiming for a school, you look them up, hypothetically, let's say their average score is 1500, right? Minimum is usually what they have as their lowest 50th percentile. Then to get to this farther number, it's a 400-point increase. Can you do it? Yes, right? So the question, can you? Yes. The question, should you? Probably not. It's kind of our typical recommendation now, because again, think of it this way, right? Everything you're doing is about resources. So if you're gonna study to get this 400 points, you're gonna spend a lot of hours, right? To get, so can you? You can. You study a lot more, you'll be able to get there. The issue though is if you're going to spend the 40, 80, 100, 200 hours to prep for the exam, that means you're not going to be spending the 40, 80, 100, 200 hours on something else. Keep in mind that the academics is probably the least important factor behind the activities and the application itself. So you always kind of weigh and see like, hey, is this going to be beneficial for you? Is it going to help you? Yes or no. And if it's not going to help you, right, let's skip it. Let's find something else that would be able to help you out in this situation over here. Okay, cool, awesome, fantastic. It's a great first question over here as well. Here's another fun question for you, Coach Jasmine. This is more of a senior kind of question as well too. So for families, really quick in the chat, right? Is anyone here a rising senior? So if you are applying this upcoming fall, you're 2026, you can drop a quick little yes in the chat so we can kind of gauge the different rooms and kind of see who is here as well. Like, is anyone here? Again, one of our 2026. There we go. We have a lot. We have a lot of 2026 folks as well too here. Fantastic. Let me go ahead and. So basically for our 2026 families as well too, right? So this is a pretty good one for you, Coach Jasmine. The question here is, should every UCPIQ, by the way, for context, PIQ is basically the personal insight question. These are the UC essays that they're going to ask you. Should every UCPIQ have a story of transformation?
Okay. So to lay out some context for the PIQs, the UCs give students 8 options of which they choose 4. And of those 4, students should choose 4 distinct aspects of themselves to write about. So going back to this question, should every UCPIQ have a story of transformation? The answer is not every single one. Now, it's certainly great if you use one of them for a story of transformation. In terms of the other ones, going back to that idea of distinct aspects of the student. So how we actually recommend. Now, it's certainly great if you use one of them for a story of transformation. In terms of the other ones, going back to why, colleges are trying to understand, why did you choose to do the things that you did? How did it shape you into who you are now? Lastly, the who did you become as a result of that experience, whatever it may be? Lastly, this is where we finally go into the prompt, is you pick the prompt that allows you to talk the most about that story and dig in deeper. So this is a little bit of reverse engineering, but at least this way, you're able to take a look at everything that you've done without the bias of the prompt at the very beginning. Coach Tony, anything to add there?
I love it as well too. I think we have taught this a few times as well too. Is it okay if I do a live example? Are you guys be interested in like a live example of this where Coach Jasmine, I'm gonna put you on the spot as well too. I'm gonna go ahead and do this exact step with her. Would you guys be interested in seeing that? Drop a quick little yes in the chat if that was something you guys are interested in seeing. If not, we can skip. We can go to the next question. But if you guys want to see us how we actually do this step by step with our actual person, or in this example, Coach Jasmine's gonna be our example as well too. How would that actually look like? I'm seeing yeses from different channels here. Twitch says yes. YouTube saying yes. Facebook crashed, so they're not saying anything. Zoom folks over here is saying yes. So let's do a quick, like again, live kind of case study real fast as well too. Just for sake of time, we're not gonna do the whole thing, right? By the way, fun fact, we actually do this with our students. We spend a whole day with them, 6 hours to get them to get from nothing all the way to a final draft. That's what we call our Kickstart event. We are sold out completely though this year. So next year, 2027 students, if you guys are interested, we'll be opening up registration very soon for that. But going back, right? Again, we'll do this exact form. Again, the reason why Coach Jasmine said it perfectly, we're reverse engineering the whole process. The reason why, before I actually go in, the reason why we do it this way is for most students, they always get stuck. They always have writer's block. They don't know what to say. They always like, I don't know what else to share as well too, right? It's usually because they start with the prompt and try to kind of come up with things as well too. Another thing that, by the way, calling parents out a little bit, right? The reason why the student is stuck, you probably told them what to write. You tell them, hey, that thing you did was really good. Talk about that. And again, your kid would never tell you no, right? They love you guys. So they got to try to do that also. But then that's not, again, that might not be what they want to truly share. So so right now, Jasmine, again, I'm going to prep you again. We're going to go through all this real fast. I'm going to have you kind of think back to high school year. You to kind of make this a little fun as well too. We're going to go through a live example. And again, if you're helping your student, this is kind of the exact same steps you would want to do if you haven't started your prompts yet. And if you have started, right, using this kind of give you a guideline like, hey, am I on the right track? Or do I need to do a quick little reset? This past weekend, we did a 2-day weekend workshop. So for some students, by the way, we did do a little reset with them just because, hey, we're not going down the right direction. I'd rather reset you now than wait to reset you. It really sucks to reset in September when you're after due right away, right? So it's a good like, reset moment now if that's you. So, Coach, yeah, we're going to play back and forth as well, too. We'll go through each of this, probably not the full extent, but just kind of high level as well, too. So, first thing, don't look at prompts. We don't have the prompts up, so we're going to go down steps. But in terms of activity, so we'll do a Coach Jasmine example really quick right here. So first step one for us, can you share with us as well what activities or what activities did you do in high school? What experiences that like life events that kind of stuck out to you, highlights, lowlights, and any identities that you felt you kind of embraced a lot in high school? Just a few of each would be awesome.
Sure. For sports, I did badminton and track and field. When it comes to outside of school, I was part of a student leadership council at my Vietnamese school. I was also volunteering a fair bit with my church on the youth ministry. And in terms of clubs at school, I was part of Interact and Key Club.
Fantastic. Awesome. So again, really quick in the chat, does it
I
sound like
believe that's everything.
yeah, no, I think it's a good little preview as well too. For a lot of family here, and I know I talk to a lot of your kids, right? You guys have something similar to this, right? Some of your kids are doing sports, some of them are involved in groups at school, outside school, part of clubs as well too. So very good kind of example here. So usually at this step, right, we'll have Jasmine kind of pick it down to the top 4. But just for today's example, Jasmine, reading kind of all this out loud as well too. What's like the one thing? Probably not. I mean, either the biggest or one of the things that kind of made you who you were, that you felt like without. So think of it this way: if you never did badminton, right, how different will life be for you? If you never did the volunteer in the church, how different will life be? And each of these kind of shaped you a little bit in its own way. So you'd be a little different, but there was probably one or two that was very significant in making you who you were today. What would you say that one thing would be?
It would definitely have to be Student Leadership Council at
So
Vietnamese school.
cool, awesome. So now again, for all of us, right? That'll be one, and you do 2, 3, 4, and we go, okay, cool. What's the next big one? What's the third? And what's the fourth, right? For the actual example. But for us, for sake of time, we're to stick with that one, right? So Student Leadership Council. So now with this, we're gonna move on to step number 2, right? Oh no, okay, that was step 2. We move on to step number 3, right? So this was step 2, picking the top, right? Moving on to step number 3. Step number 3 is gonna be story time. Right, so step number 3 is gonna be story time right now. So, because Jasmine, when you said Student Leadership Council, I had you pick, and you probably like memories race through your head right now, right? Memories and thoughts as well. That's how humans, right? Humans, we always think of stories. Think about it. If I told you guys, think of the happiest day in your life, it's a movie, right? You think of a movie or like a visual. Think of like something that happened when you were 10. Again, same thing. It's a picture, a video that kind of played out in your head. We don't think in words, right? We think in video, in like graphics. So going back to you now, Coach Jasmine, when you told me Student Leadership Council, again, you probably did a lot of stuff. You were involved in a lot of activities, a lot of stories as well too. But there was probably one story that stuck out to you the most. That's kind of why you kind of said that this was one of the big things for you. So I'm going to ask you to tell me the story. However, the caveat here, you want to tell me the story in 10 seconds, meaning I don't need the details. I just want to know this happened, then this happened, then this happened, the end. So quick, to the point. Because again, by the way, if I gave you an hour or 30 seconds, you can quite tell the same story, right? You have more details. But I'm forcing you basically to tell me the story really quick. So once you have that, let me know what's the story time for the Student Leadership Council for you.
Okay. Okay. Are we timing this?
Oh, well, we can if you want, but we'll go ahead.
Or can I just go ahead?
It's not super strict 10 seconds, by the way. So it's like the analogy of 10 seconds really quick is the one I'm trying.
Language barriers. And the PTA was very big on making sure that we still had our Lunar New Year, our usual songs, that sort of thing. So what shaped me was being able to come up with a cultural festival that balanced both the needs of the students but the PTA so that everyone felt comfortable with the end result.
Nice, awesome. So that's the quick little story time, right, of what happened as well too. So now is the fun part. It's one of my favorite parts of all time. So next part is the dig deep, right? So this is the quick little story. I think everyone here, right? You heard it. You all kind of understood. Oh, cool. So that's what happened as well too. Dig deep. So I'm gonna poke at this, right? So pretty much what I'm gonna poke, I call it the annoying 5-year-old. I'm gonna poke a lot of why questions. Why'd you do that? Why? Because at the end of the day, right, this thing that Coach Jasmine did, I'm willing to bet, because I know I've read this before, other students have done the same similar things, right? So the story is replicable, right? No matter how special we think we are, I tell students, your story is someone else's story. We all do same things. It's very hard nowadays to have a story that's super, super unique, right? However, what makes us unique is ourselves. We are what makes ourselves unique. So let's kind of figure it out for Coach Jasmine right now. So Coach Jasmine, question for you. First question, she did this. So the issue was people language barriers. You talk about the language barriers as well too. Did that affect you directly as well too, or did that affect someone close to you, or like kind of why'd you feel that way with these folks?
Um, why did I feel as if the language barriers were important to overcome?
Yes.
Mm, it was important because I wanted to make sure that there was inclusivity in this event. Obviously, the parents were very comfortable speaking in Vietnamese and comfortable singing the songs. But when it came to the students having to put on their annual performances, a lot of them didn't have that familiarity with the language in order to do so. So it was very important to me to be able to put together the festival in a way where everyone felt like they could contribute and have a good time while still paying homage to our culture.
Cool. Awesome. So now then we go another layer down, right? So you mentioned that you wanted people to feel inclusive. Why do you care about that? So again, of course, as humans, we want to make people feel good as well too. But like, I'm curious, like, was there a time you didn't feel included in certain things? Is that maybe what sparked something, or like, why this?
So Vietnamese was my first language. Um, However, when I went into the American schooling system, I lost a lot of the language, hence why my parents enrolled me in Vietnamese school. It was actually a little bit late in fourth grade. So at that point, I was fairly behind. I wasn't confident about my Vietnamese. And I was placed in my classes with students who were a lot younger. So after that experience of having to sort of claw my way back and put in extra time to get better at the language, it became important to me that other students would be able to not be able to feel like they were comfortable with where they were at and not feel pressured to be better. And that they knew that there were people who are willing to help them no matter where they were at with the familiarity with the language.
Cool. Awesome. Again, same thing. We're gonna dig one layer deeper now as well too, right? So you mentioned first language. So you mentioned that you were placed in a class with people a lot younger than you. How did you feel?
I was in elementary at the time, so feeling quite embarrassed. I was with other kindergarten students, first graders. So I was feeling a little embarrassed, and it would come out when I would have to speak to my grandma or to my aunts and uncles, and I just didn't know the language well.
Cool, awesome. Poking down a little bit as well too now, right? So you mentioned that you were feeling embarrassed as well too. How different was that than how life was for you? Would you someone who usually always get embarrassed that this was like okay, it's another thing I'm embarrassed with, or were you always like a pretty confident person, but this kind of knocked you down a little bit as well too?
I would say I was confident up to that point, and it was just one of those things that knocked me down a little.
Now dig one more deeper, right? So talk about confidence. How has confidence played a role in your life? Like growing up from beginning to now as well too. Talk to me about the confidence factor.
I find that the best things happened whenever I put myself into a situation I was uncomfortable in, but through the act of that discomfort and putting myself intentionally in those situations, I felt that I grew a lot and I came out the other side feeling very grateful for the experience.
I'm gonna poke one more level as well too. Maybe, but really quick, you guys are starting to see, right? Is going from we're not even talking about the language anymore, everyone, right? You see that we're not even talking about the culture anymore, and that's how you know you're going down the right direction. One last level, which by the way is not the final level, but this is kind of I'll stop for the sake of this trading as well too. Is you mentioned the best things happen when you put yourself when you're uncomfortable. I don't think people naturally want to put yourself in weird situations, uncomfortable, right? That's not a normal thing I would say to do. So what motivated you to like do this? Like if you can think back, like what motivated you like, hey, I know it's gonna get better on the other side or something. Because again, it's like touching something hot, right? You know it's gonna be hot, but you still do it anyways. So for you, like, no one wants to purposely be uncomfortable. No one wants to purposely be called out or feel embarrassed. But it sounds like you kind of embrace the situation a little bit of like, hey, let me go through this and make it to the other side. So why do you feel like if you trace even that back a little more, why do you think that's like why you kind of approach life or do things that way?
Yeah, so I had an experience when I was younger. Um, I I started off very, very, very shy, and I had a best friend who was an extrovert. It was almost like she adopted me, um, because she made me feel so much more confident to take things on. And we actually did the second grade, what was it, a talent show? We did the second grade talent show together, and we sang Last Christmas in February. But at the time, her mic didn't work, and so we were both sharing mine. And I remember not feeling embarrassed whatsoever, not feeling shy. I was just so happy to have my best friend near me, doing it together. And so afterwards, I had a lot of the teachers knew the song, and they like shared with me that they enjoyed the performance and everything. And students would walk up to me and they were like, good job, and all these great things. And to a shy student, that meant everything. So after that, I was like, I guess that was my aha moment where I realized, as scary as it was initially, to even sign up, to even think about doing this, on the other side, it was just so amazing. And I just took that as a lesson going forward, that having confidence to do things that I'm uncomfortable with could definitely lead to something really amazing, at the very end.
Fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, this is definitely way off the cultural thing. But again, we're getting even closer, right? And again, by the way, if I was working with a student, I'd even poke even more, by the way, because again, there's something that we may or may not. Can you, and it's all based on the student, right? The student's giving me all the information. I'm just kind of poking and prying and figuring out. Because then going back to here, right? With the friend, week one direction we can keep digging in more is like your friend. Talk to me about friendship. Talking about like how does that kind of shape you who you are. Going back down, talk to me how people telling you good job as well too. That's a level of like self worth as well too, validation as well too. That's another angle we can go. But you can see how our original story was about this putting on this cultural festival. So when Jasmine's gonna write her prompts, right, that's gonna be the main topic. That's a story. That's the quick story. But when you trace it back down to who she is, why she did, she wanted people to feel inclusive. Why did she care to make people inclusive? Because she wanted them not to feel the pain that she went through. Why and how has it made her who she is? You keep tracing it down and down and down and down, and at the end, pretty much, if we talk about the idea of having someone there for you, right, which will go back to maybe that's the full circle. She's there now for her school, right, of other students as well too. Maybe it's the idea of self-worth, helping these other students feel like they're valid at the cultural thing as well too. We're able to tie in this deep identity of the student there, because again really quick, Jasmine, did you end up doing a cultural festival in college too as well too?
I did,
Yeah,
yes.
right. So for example, right, the stuff that she did in high school, she did continue. But again, going back to some of your other activities, did you continue everything you did? Did you do badminton, track and field, volunteering, interact, key club in college also?
I did not do track and field, and badminton I only did a little
Yeah.
bit of.
Yeah, so she's like the perfect example, right? Of the sense of like most things you do in high school, you probably keep a few. So she kept the Vietnamese thing, right, moving forward. But a lot of the other ones she dropped, right? Not saying it's good or bad. That's how life is. You'll drop the stuff, but keep in mind, and this is me knowing Cal Jasmine, she's still the same inclusive person. She's the person that she will like sit by you and say, "Hey, who are you? Let me talk to you." And because again, this is who she is, right? And that's the key of all these prompts is that you want to show who you are as a person to the reader. That's what they're trained to look for as well, right? So you see in this example, that's what we got to from the story down to the dig deep factor. You kind of understand who she is as a person. Again, today she's still the same person, right? She may not, I don't think today you're doing this right now, right? Maybe you are, right? Who knows, right? But the person that you are is still the same, and that's the whole takeaway of the PIQs. Again, was this a story transformation? Kind of not really, as well too, right? Because the transformation happened to her when she was younger. Her now in high school was putting on this thing for others as well. So she didn't transform, but maybe she played a role in others transforming as well too. Does that make sense for everyone? Drop a quick yes in the chat wherever you guys are joining. If that little analogy, that little kind of case study worked for you guys, if that made sense as well. We started off with a quick little story. We went down to the dig deep insights of who she is, and that's the key, right? That's the thing. That's the magic of all these things. And people think like, "Wow, that's amazing." Yeah, that's what you need to do as well too on your prompts. At the end of the day, is that why, the how, and the who aspect. Fantastic. Thanks, Coach Jasmine, for that as well too. So I think we're good with this question. Again, people got a really good example there. So moving on, right? Moving on as well too. Here, I think we have a question over here in Zoom. So let me see if I can jump and do an answer over here. And then Coach Jasmine, I'll probably ask you for the next one. There's a question here to ask for Letters of Rex and Passion Project if you want to tackle that. But a question on Zoom, by the way, if you guys are here joining us live, feel free to drop your questions down below in the chat as well. We can definitely talk to you guys in there as well too. So one of the questions here was, since state schools don't do holistic, how do you compensate that for your app? My daughter has 3.5 but has so many great major light accomplishments and extracurriculars. We don't know how to display in your Cal State apps effectively, right? So this is one of those fortunate, unfortunate kind of things as well too. So for those who don't know, the Cal State schools, there's 23 Cal States, right? Their application is pretty much only your personal information, your academics, your classes, and the grades. That's it. That's pretty much all they ask for as well too. So again, they'll ask, did you do activities? You say yes, and that's pretty much it. There is a school that will ask a few more questions. That's slow. Cal Poly is slow just because it's a very competitive Cal State as well. They'll have some questions there that you can share, but pretty much when it comes to the academics, right, that's pretty much what you have to showcase for these state schools is the thing to keep in mind as well too. So again, if you're watching this live and try to do it now, it might be a little late, but that's why we tell students, again, for a lot of our incoming seniors, right, use the summer between 11th and 12th and 12 to kind of show the rigor of your schedule, right? Because again, a lot of people during summer, they're not doing extra classes. So if you're taking extra classes during this time, that's going to help you guys a lot as well too. Okay, but yeah, keep in mind that again, the Cal States do not ask for the other one. So again, perhaps you guys want to also apply to some other schools. Again, don't just apply to just one set of schools, right? Apply to a bunch of different ones just to kind of see what schools, again, because from students, right, there's probably some context behind the 3.5 as well too, right? It's probably some context behind that we can learn from you guys if you had more to talk about for the UCs and anything else as well too. Okay, really quick, this is really cool. I'm gonna do a quick little screenshot. Oh, did not screenshot correctly. Oh, it froze. All right, really quick. I froze on TikTok again. But one of the comments on TikTok says, Coach Tony, you helped me get into undergrad. I'm starting my PhD next month. How cool is that? Thank you, TikTok. It's from LC Goy. Thanks, LC Goy, as well too. Awesome, cool. So going back, Coach Jasmine, I'll have you tackle this one as well too. One of the questions that came in today was, I need help figuring out what to ask for on letters of recommendations and also figuring out passion project. If you want to tackle the letters of rec, I can tackle the passion project part as well too.
Sure, yeah. So for the letters of recommendation, what they're used for is actually to show new information. So a mistake that I see often is that students think the letter of recommendation is to vouch for existing information that you're already showing through your application. But a good letter of recommendation should add new value to the student. So what I mean by this is, let's say that the student in their essay has already talked about their extracurriculars, what they've done, and their grades are great. They talk about how they push themselves, they have good, strong academic rigor. And if the letter of recommendation is just from one of your teachers saying that you are a great student, it's kind of redundant. The best strategic use of a letter of recommendation is to add new information. And actually, something that you could do is actually ask your recommender, tell them exactly what you want them to write about. So you give them your application and you tell them 2 to 3 things that you'd like them to highlight within that letter of recommendation. And that's completely okay. Oftentimes, the person writing your letter of recommendation would like to know what you would want them to write about. So we don't want to leave anything up to chance. This is the best way to make sure you know exactly what's going to be included as part of your portfolio you're submitting to college. And if you have anything else to add, Coach Tony?
I think that's perfect as well. That's all too on what to do again. Because keep in mind, again, these are additional things that they'll read. When I was a reader and I read letters of rec, and I was on the scholarship committee and I read tons of letters of recs, most of them suck because not because it's bad. No one actually, I lied. I have read one student where someone did say I don't recommend it, which is super funny, kind of sad, but super funny. Thinking back now, right? But majority of them are great. They always say great things about the student, right? All the students great, pleasure to have, super smart. But the thing is that I already know that. Reading your app, I already knew all this stuff. The reason why I'm going into the layers of rec area is I'm still torn. I don't know what to say yet for you. So think of it that way. Every section of your app is designed to give new information to the reader so they can help understand everything that you're doing. So nothing needs to double dip. That's why you know us, right? What we said, even when Coach Yasmin shared the tips for the essays, 4 of them should be different topics, different things, no overlaps. Because again, if you're overlapping, you're saying the same thing twice. And as a reader, I'm like, oh, I already know this, right? What else do I want to know? So you see, everything's done strategically here. And I think that here, so again, asking them to share about is perfect. I love that kind of comment, Coach Yasmin, as well too. Because again, once you do your app, you know what you're missing. Like, hey, I want to talk about this or that. That's gonna be the thing over there. So I love it. Awesome. And let me answer the second question as well too. Figure out passion project over here. So when it comes to the passion project, we like to call it personal project because I always joke that most students don't really know what they're really passionate about anyways in today's world, right? So passion project, personal project. The key here, if you're starting it, right? So like I'm assuming the student hasn't started it yet, what to do, right? And just like Coach Jasmine said, we like to reverse engineer the entire process. Let's kind of do the same thing because eventually you probably want to talk about this, right? On your essays, your applications. So make sure you know what you want to talk about and just kind of work backwards to that specific point. So what I tell students to do first, right? What's something you care about deeply, right? That's it. Doesn't have to be related to your major. It could, right? But doesn't have to be. It's what do you care about deeply and then why? That's probably the most important part here. Why do you care about that specifically? I think that's gonna be the big key to answer. Here is why do you care about that thing? Because that's a big takeaway for the readers here. And once you get that done, the rest is easy. This is the hardest part. The reason we have a little incubator program. We help our students kind of figure this out. We take multiple pages of like I'm kind of digging through and figure out what do I care about, what do I like, what do I enjoy to do, as well as and why do I like this, why do I care about this. Spoilers, that's kind of what we started doing right later on the essays. Kind of we're doing out of order a little bit, right? But that's kind of what we're teaching our students to start thinking about. Why is it that this is so important to me, right? Because that will tell me kind of who you are as a person, how you develop. So once you have that, then next, right, we call it the ripple, meaning how can you create that impact out, right? So how can you expand this to one more person, right? People try to think about doing, let me do this massive thing, right? Let me do this global thing as well. You can get there, but most people never make it. And not because they can't, it's because they just don't do the work to get there. So I tell students, if you try to do this big thing, go with one person, then do second person, then third person, then fourth, and then it will start to snowball eventually as well too. Because at the end of the day, right? What if your project fails? Right? What if your project fails? What if you do this project that you want? Hey, I want to go. We have a student who they had this really cool idea. One thing they cared about was like safety, and they explained why. Like it was like a personal family thing for them, right? Why safety was really big for them as well too. So they want to create like a stop sign or like a slow down area in their neighborhood as well too. And then I'm like, love it. Your passion's there. I love it. Let's do it. How can we do it? He's like, oh, I want to see if we can make a change to this thing. I'm like, awesome. Let's make it happen as well too. They had one idea. I'm like, let me go talk to this person. Love it. Do it. Guess what happened? It failed. This person told them, no, go away, right? They're like, oh man. So we're like, reset. What's plan B? Plan B is let's go this angle. Go for it. They do it. Guess what happens? It fails again. That group says no. They try again. That group says no. Every single thing that they did, they got no. They got all the way up to the city level, right? City level of like, hey, getting the bill passed, and it failed too. At the end of the day, this student still shared the entire story because their why was so invested. The success or not success of your project is gonna be the answer of what it is. It's the why. Why did the student pursue this in the first place, right? And what did they do? This student, you can tell, didn't give up. They kept going and going and going, and that motivation to want to make it across. They're heading off to the Ivies this year. Fun fact as well. So again, their project, I would say, out of lawsuits that I've worked with this past year, everything like almost they got the most no's of like everything they planned to do didn't happen because and for a lot of it wasn't in their control. Things that they could do, they did, but then when it came to getting approval from this agency or this person, this representative, they all kind of shut them down. Is the thing, right? But at the end of the day, they shared their story, and it was good because that story was passionate to them. They're doing city planning as a major. Fun little fact as well. So it's kind of full circle kind of moment for them over there. Okay, so that's gonna be that thing. Thanks, Coach Jasmine, for answering the question over here. Okay. Next one. This is a good question as well too. Coach Jasmine, I think you can probably tackle this one. And by the way, I think we might run out of time, so we might do one, maybe two more questions. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop it again right now in the chat. If not, we'll just save it. We're not gonna have to leave. I think we'll just save it as well too and move it over. But right here, Coach Jasmine, this student looks like a student. My GPA is my UC GPA is 3.4 unweighted and 3.7 weighted. I do have context for it. I was wondering if prestigious UCs are unrealistic to get admitted to with a low GPA, even as a highly competitive holistic applicant. Because even though I have a below average GPA, I'm a children's book author, neurodiversity fundraiser, multi-platform creator and club founder, camp counselor, and for neurodiverse preschoolers, et cetera, et cetera. So, what are your quick thoughts on this, Ron, Coach Jasmine?
Sure, yeah. When it comes to academics, it is probably the least most important factor out of all of the three. So academics comes least, activities next, and the application is the most important. So it really depends on what is the context of the lower grades. Um, the whole purpose of academics is to show the readers that the student is able to succeed at the college. Now, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of whether you should go on to further explain this, go ahead and further share it in the additional comments or in the essays. The thing is with the readers is they are taught to not assume. They will only go off of the information that's available in the application. Therefore, if you don't share anything about your circumstances, why your GPA is the way it is, then they're not going to be able to go off of that in order to make their final decision. So always share if you feel like it would help you out. The readers do want to help you, but they can only help you if you list it out in your application.
I think it's perfect as well too. I think that's the big thing, right? And keep in mind, low GPA means you're not a good student? No, it just means there's probably some context, right? That we don't know as well too. Vice versa, vice versa. What if, right? What if you're not the strongest student in academics? So let's actually play the other side, because I don't think enough people talk about the other side as well too. So I think Coach Jasmine's answer was perfect, right? Exactly. Again, I'm sure you have a logic, a reason why. Share that so the readers know that. But let's flip it around. Let's be a little realistic as well for some families that they're like, oh, my kid is special. They're super smart as well too. And then the thing that Coach Jasmine said, the purpose of the academics is to show, are you going to be fine once you come to our school? Because at the end of the day, if you're aiming for a UCLA, you're aiming for UC Berkeley, you're aiming for Stanford, you're aiming for Harvard, right? There's no accident that students end up at these schools who are not going to make it, right? There's a reason why they make it to these schools. And plus, these schools are not only hard to get in, they're hard to make it out. Something you don't look at, and you guys want to, if you're bored, look it up. Look up the graduation rates. It's not 100%. Not every kid that will come in day one will graduate year 4. That's a fun fact for you guys, right? It's not going to happen, but because of reality is there are kids who will get kicked out of the school between first year and then the graduation year. There are kids who will drop out between the beginning and the end. As a reader, I'm basically trained. I want to make sure if I say yes to you, you're going to be fine. I don't need you to get straight A's out of school. I just want you to make sure you are going to graduate, right? But if you're struggling at your school, and then I can tell that you tried your best and you're still struggling, when you come to a Harvard, which is 10 times hard in high schools, right? And law schools, again, I don't know of any schools that's hard in college, right? And at these levels as well too. These colleges will be 3, 5, 10 times harder and stuff. How do you feel your child's going to be? And also, is that at the end of the day, is that the best fit for them? Is the key, right? So sometimes keep in mind, when I told a no to a student, it's really, hey, if you come here, you're gonna suffer, right? You're not gonna have a good time, because at the end, the whole purpose of this is to find a good fit for you. Again, the school is great. It's great for an ego thing. Parents, you get to brag to your friends. Our coaches, we get to brag to you guys that our kids did really well. Our students, you get to brag, get a good first job after. But at the end of the day, we care way more about, is that the best fit for the student? Right? Are you going to enjoy your 4 years in college? Are you going to love it? Again, it shouldn't be super easy, right? You shouldn't be challenged when you get to college too, but it shouldn't be so overwhelming that you cry every day, that you call mom and dad, say, hey, I really can't do it as well. That's what we want to avoid. We don't want that to happen as well. Okay? That being said, thank you. I think we are a little over time, Coach Jasmine. Thank you so much. Coach Jasmine did a great job. Can anybody give her a little like a yeehaw in the chat for me? Yeehaw in the chat as well too. She did awesome as well too. She's actually one of our advisors. So if anyone is interested, for those who are new, by the way, we do a quick everyone in our program. We do give you guys a free 15-minute coaching call, just again make sure you're on the right track. It's not a sales call. You can't buy anything on that call as well too. But what we do, because what Coach Jasmine does in our team, she basically just gives you kind of gets you like calls like this, right? Gets your profile, gives you some recommendations as well too, just to make sure you guys are on the right track. And if you guys are interested in working, we could talk about next steps afterwards. But if anyone is interested, really quick little plug for Coach Jasmine. She's one of our top advisors as well too. You can just text the word Jasmine to our phone number 949-775-0865. If you haven't had your 15 minutes yet, we can connect you with her. You can see she's a wealth of knowledge herself as well too. She can help you guys out with this. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and text the word Jasmine. Or also, by the way, if you want the resource to the free to how to create your own internship, just text her. So again, the message are going straight to her, so she'll go ahead and respond to you guys today or tomorrow. I know it's late for her on her end, so she'll probably reach out today or tomorrow for you guys to help you guys with that. But that's pretty much it for today. Thank you, Coach Jasmine, for hanging out with us over here today. And then we'll probably bring you back on soon again as well too. So we had a little tech issue, so we'll probably do an official reback next time as well too. But that's pretty much it for me today. Thank you everyone for joining in for all the various platforms: TikTok, our Instagram, our Twitch, our YouTube, our Zoom. Not Facebook. We'll try Facebook again next time. But for